Welcome to Whisky.com, where fine spirits meet. My name is Luening, Horst Luening, and I'm the master taster of Whisky.com. And today I have nearly the full range of Talisker Whiskies here on my cask. And the pronunciation of the distillery is Talisker. You pronounce this on the first syllable. Why? Because it's a Nordic word and not a Gaelic word. The Gaelic word would have been called Talisker. So no, it's a Nordic word, you say Talisker. The standard bottle of the Talisker is the 10 years old. Here, the first bottle. There had been several different labels and card boxes in the past. The shape of the bottle stayed the same, as well as the ABV with 45.8. All of those whiskies have 45.8% ABV, except the cask strength whiskies, or the high ABV whiskies. They decided inside Diageo, the proprietor of the distillery, that all their members of the classic malt family will be bottled in the same strength. So every time you have a Lagavulin, which is also from the Diageo, from a Diageo distillery, it will be bottled in 43, and then Craigenmore with 40, and so on. So Talisker always with 45.8% ABV. There had been different card boxes, a map on it, brown. Now the new one in the year appeared in 2012, I think, in blue, sea blue. It's always called Talisker Made by the Sea. So the distillery lies at the seashore on the Isle of Skye. And so they switched over to a blue color to represent the sea. The next one is the Talisker Storm, which is a more intense single malt whiskey than the already intense 10 years old, because it's younger, not that mature, and was matured in rejuvenated oak casks. So they were old casks. They were heated again, so that the rest of the oak wood would break up into malt sugars, and they would caramelize and give again fresh oak aromas to the whiskey. So rejuvenated cask and mixture of normal oak casks for this Talisker Storm. Then, from the price range, it would be the Portree, but if I taste this in a row, then I would switch over to the high ABV Talisker 57 degrees North. This is more expensive than the Portree, but if you reduce it to a drinking strength, then it would fit perfectly in between, because the Portree is a finished whiskey in port wine casks, and the 57 degrees North not. It's a typical mature Talisker, also a little bit younger, so it's more intense, then more ABV, more alcohol, so again more intense. So this is a heavy, strong whiskey, which I would never taste with a high 57 degrees alcohol, but I would always dilute it to a less strength, or drinking strength below 50%. The name 57 degrees North comes from the northern latitude the distillery lies at. It's a little bit northern than 57 degrees, and it has a strength of 57 degrees, which is close to the old imperial measure of 100 proof. And so this coincidence of those two 57 brings the name to the Talisker 57 North. Then we have the Talisker Portree, it's called. It's a Gaelic word, Portruig. It's the port of the kings, and is the capital of the Isle of Skye, where the distillery resides on. And this is also a young whiskey, and I guess that Talisker has a high demand worldwide, so that they can't rest or can take so many years for maturation of all their whiskies, so that they have to bring to the market the younger whiskies they're able to. So I'm afraid several of those whiskies might be definitely younger than the 10 years, and probably the youngest might be 3 or 4 years. Might be, I can't tell you. Some of those I found some metallic notes in, which is a sign that it is quite young. Then the Talisker Distillery Edition. Here we have the year, the vintage 2001, bottled in 2012, also with a new label. And this one here, the small bottle, shows the old label with a brown color on it. There are still bottles out on the market of the old one. The quality, from my personal point of view, is the same. There are differences between the years. There are different maturation times, typically more than 10 years. The average probably 11 years. There are some which were 12 years old, I think, if I remember right. And the first one was, I think, 1980, 1981. I'm not quite sure. And this is one of my very, very favorite whiskies, because it has the intensity, the strength, the chili catch of the normal Talisker, 10 years old, and it is much more complex because it has a finishing period inside Amoroso sherry cask, I think. Amoroso or Amontillado? Amoroso. And the last one in the row is the 18-year-old, which is the not the oldest Talisker, but the oldest Talisker most of us may be able to afford. So those bottles are quite challenging to get on the shelves. There's an over demand for those bottles, and prices rose from 60, 70 euros up to close to 100 euros per bottle, and I think in the moment they are close to 100 euros per bottle. There are some other Taliskers on the market. There is a vintage which is 25 years old, and nearly every year there's a new batch of these 25 years old on the market. There have been, if I remember right, also sherry cask bottles, at least one in those 25 years range. And there's a very new one, not a very new one, a very old one, a 30-year-old, but this one is really expensive, more than 500 euros per bottle. This is the range, and the next days or week I will be busy tasting them all. This is heaven for a malt whiskey connoisseur. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned, there's more to come, and have a look at our whiskey database where you can find all those bottles. Thank you very much.